I'm Vic Myers. Welcome to The Resistance. Benefits for military veterans go back at least as far as the Roman Empire. 20-year veterans of the Roman military were awarded land for their service. In 1592, the English Parliament passed legislation to award land grants and money to their disabled veterans, and it was later increased to go to their spouses as well. In 1776, the Continental Congress approved the first national pension law for disabled veterans. World War I was from 1914 to 1918, and in 1924, Congress passed legislation to provide bonuses to veterans, but it paid out over time with the last payment scheduled for 1945. They didn't know they'd be in another world war when they passed it. President Coolidge, he was against this law because in his view, patriotism bought and paid for is not patriotism. And in May of 1932, 300 World War I veterans, calling themselves the Bonus Expeditionary Force and labeled by the press as the Bonus Army, and led by Walter W. Waters, a World War I Army sergeant, set up camp in Washington, D.C. to petition Congress for immediate payment for their wartime service. President Hoover, the 1930 version of Felon 47, deployed the U.S. Army on these veterans. Generals Douglas MacArthur and George Patton used tanks, tear gas, and bullets to drive the Bonus Army out of D.C. They burned their encampments, several veterans were wounded, and at least one was killed. June 6, 1944 was D-Day, the beginning of the Normandy invasion that would turn the tide and lead to Allied victory in World War II. Fast forward to today, we have a president and his administration that makes Coolidge and Hoover look like they were great champions for veterans. They're attacking veterans and veteran services everywhere they can. They're reducing access to veteran health care. They've stopped funding the 988 hotline. They've ended community care for veterans. And they're firing veterans from their government jobs in numbers we've never seen before. These are just a few of the ways this administration is waging war on our veterans. And by the way, we have so many veterans in government jobs because our private sector falls short of recognizing the many positive factors that military service brings to the table. That's why veterans get preference points in government jobs. If Rob and Roberta both interview for a job and they are otherwise equal prospects, but Roberta is a veteran, then she gets the job. It's another way we reward people for serving our country. Anyway, like the Bonus Army of 1932, veterans and people who care about veterans are coming together on June 6, 2025, the anniversary of D-Day, with the hope of turning the tide against what this administration is doing to our veterans, just like the Allied forces started turning the tide against the fascist Axis powers of World War II on D-Day. If you have the wherewithal to go to Washington, D.C. on June 6th, then I encourage you to do so. The meeting place is the National Mall. If you can't go to D.C., then just like the other protests we've seen this year, show up at your state capitol if you can, or at your local rallying place. For more information, you can find the Unite for Veterans Coalition at uniteforveterans.org. Oh yeah, if you have them, don't forget to bring your Antifa membership cards. Good day.
Can Avelo confirm that it will never operate flights while non-violent passengers are in shackles